I'm so crispy. I shot so hard that you boys can't miss me.
What's going on, guys? Crispy Flakes here, and for this episode of the debate, we are going to be talking about who we think is the MVP this far into the season. Now, we are a little bit more than a quarter way down the NBA season, so definitely so much more basketball left to be played, but it's never too early to start talking about it, and it's even more fun to see how our predictions will play out as the NBA season progresses. Now, in my own opinion, I think, and I've been talking with this guy all year, I don't know if I've done it in previous sport videos or whatnot, but I think that Anthony Davis has to be in consideration for the MVP this year just because he's been putting up some crazy numbers there on the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, some people would argue with me saying, well, they are only the 8th seed in the Western Conference, Crispy. And with that being said, I think that the MVP is kind of a weird award. I think it should be called the MTP, the most talented player, because the MVP is a guy that you take that player off the team, and that team would just do terrible. I mean, would the New Orleans Pelicans be, 8th in the Western Conference without Anthony Davis? No, they'd probably be like last. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think an MVP is. But in recent years, when guys like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Derrick Rose, guys like that win the MVP, it's based off, of course, if you take those guys off their team, they're not going to be as good. I mean, don't get me wrong. I agree with that 100%. And they put up crazy numbers and whatnot. But it's just, there's definitely talented players out there that don't play on always the top teams. So therefore, they don't really get into consideration for the MVP award. I mean, let's look at the top two teams of each conference so far. You have the Toronto Raptors and the Washington Wizards in the Eastern Conference. So, is anybody thinking that guys like Kyle Lowry or John Wall are the MVPs? I mean, I really don't hear those names brought up. You continue to hear guys like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Chris Paul. And you look in the Western Conference, and you have the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies in the top two spot. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies are kind of interesting. Their team is more based off of chemistry and, having 5 solidified starters that go in every single game and play their heart out. You don't really think of one of those guys on their team as a superstar, as an MVP type player, but you definitely think of them as always like a teammate of all-stars, kind of like back in the day on the 04 Detroit Pistons, when they had like Chauncey, Rip, Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, all those guys. And then you do look at the Golden State Warriors, who are number 1 in the West, and they have Steph Curry, and I think that Steph Curry, hands down, should be an MVP. Him, or as I was saying before, Anthony Davis. But man, it's just really interesting, just because based off record, I do think you have to take that into consideration, and I do think that's what is going to hold back Anthony Davis from winning it, is that his team is not going to be, in that top 1 or 2 spot at the end of the season. So I think when looking at the MVP, it is kind of important to look at records and whatnot. It's not all necessarily the most valuable player on the team because, like I said, Anthony Davis is the most valuable player on his team. This team would not be as good without him. But also the team has to have, signs of winning. And if you take Steph Curry off the Warriors, they're not going to be as good. So it is just kind of a different way to look at things. Really, every player has that MVP, that if you take off that player, they're not going to be as good. So it's kind of just, I don't know, that's just my own thoughts on it. I mean, I think a guy like LeBron James, of course, can always come back, have a strong season. Cleveland's starting to play a lot better now. I think he could definitely win it. Kevin Durant, oh man, you didn't even get me started on Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook has been playing out of his mind lately. Like, he's only been back for a few games, but the numbers he's been putting up at a point guard, like, if he's doing that for the rest of the season, I bet you, for one, Oklahoma City is going to move up that Western Conference rankings, and 2, I would not be surprised if you have a back-to-back Thunder winning the MVP, one being Kevin Durant last year, and this year being Russell Westbrook. And wouldn't that just be insane? 2 MVPs in the last 2 years on the same team? So what do you guys think? Who do you think deserves the MVP award? It's just different ways to look at it, different perspectives. I love hearing your guys' comments in the comment section below. So, let me know what you all think. Hope you all have a wonderful day, wonderful night, whenever you're watching this video. Please remember to subscribe to Sport and Crispy Flakes. Have a good one, my friends. Peace out.